right. I want to talk CFVI. I'll bring Kris Tuttle from SPACFest on in just a moment. CFVI vote is Thursday. Today is now Tuesday. So in about 48 hours is going to be the vote. And I've been talking about taking some off the table because I was worried about what could happen here around DSPAC. So let me bring Kris Tuttle in to talk a little bit more about that. Kris, how are you doing? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome to the show. How's your morning going?
So far, so good. Another beautiful day in New York.
Yeah. All right. Great. So I know I don't know if you did a piece on CFVI. I don't know if it's published yet on your site. So we're looking forward to seeing that. If you want to give us a preview of that, but first, I'd like to hear about the mechanics behind the DSPAC process. We have a vote Thursday. We have the redemption period unlocking, or ending, which can cause the price maybe to go below 10. Why don't you fill us in on those details?
Yeah. Simply put, you have the right to redeem your shares for what's in the trust, which is $10 and a penny. The deadline for that indication, as well as tendering your shares, either electronically or physically, is 5 p.m. today. And then the vote will happen at 10 a.m. on Thursday. There's you can watch it online. I don't know what we'll see, but they need a quorum, as we saw with DWAC. If you paid attention to that, there were some problems getting enough voters in there. But they will have a vote, and if they get a quorum, the vote will be to approve. It's just getting the quorum, and they will announce the results of the vote.
What percentage do they need to approve it?
I think they need 65%. It varies by SPAC.
65% of all of the shares or of the quorum?
I think of all the shares.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's what I saw for DWAC, 65%. But that was to extend the deadline. I wasn't sure it's the same to merge or not.
Yeah, I mean, I have to double check if it's exactly the same, and that's of course for the SPAC shares. It doesn't have anything to do with the the Rumble shareholders. So it's just the SPAC, and they will at some point announce the redemption numbers. There can be a delay in that. They try to, usually it's pretty prompt, but we should see the vote announced, the results of the vote if they get a quorum, as well as the redemption statistics.
Okay, so my analysis, correct me if I'm wrong, is after 5 p.m. today, once people put in their they're guaranteed to get the $10 at that point, then it brings the floor of the stock below 10 after today, right?
That is correct. In other words, you tender your shares tomorrow. If you own the stock, you can no longer tender for the $10 price. There is a little loophole where you could tender your shares by 5 p.m. and before the vote, you actually can ask to withdraw that request, which would sort of unredeem your shares. But I don't think that's going to be a big factor. But tomorrow, the shares could conceivably trade below 10.
So does that bring just the mechanics behind the scenes? Maybe you're familiar with. I mean, does that bring in shorts? Are they like excited about this? They're like foaming at the mouth. They're like, oh, there's no longer a $10 floor. Let me short. Is that when they jump in?
There's unfortunately every SPAC deal is unique. And shorts in some of these deals have been, it's been confounding to short some of these things, despite them being, in some cases like real pieces of junk. Just because the retail crowd, they might be a little scared off this week if the market's weak, but the retail crowd is still out there, potentially driving these shares a lot higher, and it's made a little bit more difficult to predict how heavily shorts are willing to lean on anything, because they've got to fear the flip side, which is the deal goes through, there are high redemptions, you get a low float, they're caught short, that can get ugly in a hurry. So I'm not sure how bold shorts are going to be. There are options on this stock, so you can also do things with calls and puts. That's another thing short sellers might look at, the options versus the common. That would be my guess.
Right. Okay. Well, we're definitely headed for a period of volatility, though, it sounds like. So why don't you tell us about your piece? Is it published yet, or do you want to summarize it for us real quick?
It is published. It is, a very long piece, and I know no one likes to read. So I'll just, I'm not even going to go through the vast majority of it, but let's just talk about the, kind of the end piece here, valuation, stock conclusion. I had to back into some of these numbers, daily active, monthly actives, where the company's going to go, what their revenue potential is. The net of it all is, I see this company getting to, let's call it, 300 million potentially in revenue as a run rate. That's, let's say, 12 to 18 months from now. There is a ton of execution that's got to happen post deal to make that a reality. From a fundamental standpoint, we have no idea, by the way, what the margins and profits are going to be. So I can't even really do a real model. But, if you put a, 3-4x multiple on it, which is sort of the mid range of these kind of companies, you get to a, I'll be generous and say, a $4 or $5 fundamental share price. So, there's plenty of downside based on the fundamentals. This is a stock that, with the elections coming and the way people feel about some of the things that are on this platform and the news flow, I mean, this thing is really going to be driven by news flow and retail. But, when you sort it all out and you really look at it as a business and the multiples and everything else, and forget about all the hype and who's doing what, you kind of get to, let's call it $4 or $5 a share in fundamental value.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I really can't disagree with that. I think the thing that would drive retail traders to buy above those prices, they're going to be like, Kris, I don't care what you say about $300 million. They're going to sign Joe Rogan within the year, and that's going to make their business like, triple beyond your model or something, But, that's what the retail would probably say.
Well, I mean, and I don't, sure, here, I'll tell you this, they could sign Joe Rogan, and that would be great. I mean, it's almost, I've almost already factored that in, but all right, maybe it's not wholly factored in, but in a couple quarters, I'll be able to do a real model with the margins and everything. And, they're going to have to pay Joe Rogan,
Right.
So, it's very exciting in terms of driving audience and content, but the flip side is, he got a rumored 200 million on the Spotify deal over the course of it. So he's not coming for free.
Yeah, I get that. All right, sounds good. Thank you so much for your insight. Where can people go to learn more about your work? I mean, you do cover other specs as well, right?
Yeah, we cover the whole, we cover the waterfront in the SPAC world. Every deal's posted. We don't, and then we go deep on some of them. That's all at SPACvest.com. If you're into SPACs, you'll get, there's a free membership where you get a lot of stuff. And then obviously there's a paid membership too, if you want to go, go heavy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Kris. Yep.